What's up, guys? WhoNeedsMeta here with another duel commentary. This is from a locals that we did at my place again, playing Trish format, I believe is what Format Library calls it. We just called it Providence 11. Essentially, it's the format before Tengu Plant, but TG Hyper Librarian is not legal, but Extreme Victory, Trishula, things like that in Arsenal 4 are. So it's kind of like right in the middle of that format. There's a lot of different events in that format with varying card pools, which makes it difficult to play, but this is kind of agreed upon as the best one. I'm going to be playing Tengu Plants. We both ended up setting a monster passing. I ended up going first for 2 straight turns. I decided to make a synchro play with my Sangan and my Bulb. I did open Bulb and Spore this game, which kind of stinks, but I am still going to go for the Lone Fire because I already have Maxi in hand. And the reason I decided to do this play is because I wanted to get my Sangan in my Graveyard Search because I drew Thunder King for turn and I wanted a normal Thunder King. So we're going to attack. We're going to hit Serene Psychic Witch. I actually did know what he was playing beforehand because this is round 2, but I felt kind of disingenuous to go for a DD Crow off the search. I do main deck 1 copy of DD Crow, because I think the card's pretty good in most instances. And then we're going to set 1 card, which is going to be Solemn Judgment, and we're going to pass here. He's going to use Espargirl. Espargirl's going to banish the top card, and I'm going to max C the summon. At this time, you're not allowed to look at the face down card. It's not until 2014. YCS Chicago that you're allowed to look at face down banished cards. So he normal summons Psychic Jumper. Now I'm thinking here with the Solemn Judgment, if he takes my Thunder King, because Psychic Jumper allows you to pick both monsters, it's like, do I Judgment this Thunder King? I do have, or to not have to play around Thunder King, I do have Dark Hole in my hand. Essentially I'm deciding which card is more valuable to have, Solemn Judgment or Dark Hole, like which one do I want to save? And I realized that Solemn Judgment being susceptible to MST, to like a drawn MST later in the game, makes it more valuable to use now. I hate paying 4K for it, but I felt that having Dark Hole as an answer later would probably be better for me, especially allowing to keep my Thunder King, so that if something later happens, we could deal with, like, if he wants to synchro into like a Naturia Beast or something, we could still have Dark Hole because we can negate it with that Thunder King. Eventually we do decide to use the Solemn Judgment on the Psychic Jumper. But he has Telekinetic Power Well. This is honestly a card I keep forgetting exists despite owning a whole playset of them. You just don't technically think about it because we typically play formats where Teleport is at more than 1 when we play like the Jumpers and stuff. Yes, Teleport is still at 1 in this format. So we're still stuck with 1 teleport, but he's going to give us the Esper Girl and take our Thunder King, which is going to run over the Esper Girl, which means we're going to take 1400, and he's going to get a card. And so now we have the 2 Jumpers and the Thunder King to contend with, so it looks like we're probably going to have to Dark Hole this board. I also could have Trish turn 1. I didn't really talk about that. Not turn 1, but whenever we had the Bulb and we normal summoned. I don't know, maybe going for it wouldn't have been fine, but if you lose to Valor and you lose a Thunder King and an Armory Arm, and you lose access to Glow Up Bulb later in the game, it feels kind of bad when they have a wider board than you. So we do eventually decide to go with the Dark Hole because we don't want to deal with our own Thunder King, even though we could maybe potentially equip, but there's nothing really in our hand that gets us there. We do have Pot of Avarice, and we want the ability to go Lone Fire into Lone Fire and then activate Pot of Avarice. Before doing the second one, allows us to keep the Bulb in our graveyard. We can just put the other 5 back here, shuffle, and then go Lone Fire again and get 2 cards and go into the Dandelion. So what we do here, we draw 2 cards, we tribute the first one. We're not going to attack, so we are going to attack essentially. We're not going to like do anything else in terms of the battle phase. We might as well get 500. This is the last format that Mind Master is legal, which means the deck is on Brain Research Lab, so we know that they're not going to be playing Gores. So we go ahead and get our Dandelion that we were going to get, and we set 1 and we pass. And it is Trap Dust Shoot. So we see Destructotron, which is the back row popper, which is the best card. We're obviously going to send that back. And Commander, which would have dealt with our Thunder King kind of cleanly. It's 4 monsters, so the Pot of Avarice is currently dead. So, but the big thing we have to play around right now is knowing that Dark Hole is in existence. So he's going to summon the Commander and attack, and we're going to get our 2 tokens. And then pass there. So we're going to draw for turn. We do have a Reborn in our hand. We're trying to figure out essentially we have a reborn and we also have a breaker. Breaker, I don't think we haven't seen any trap cards. We didn't see any trap cards with the trap dusty. We're like, how much value does this breaker realistically add to our hand? So I'm thinking, I was like, should I just ram breaker, force to pay the 500 and get a card that has no value in this matchup to get rid of a monster and we still have our 2 tokens? Or do we have to like try and waste some cards to get to either Shooting Star Dragon or Stardust Dragon? Because again, any like big push we make is going to lose the Dark Hole formula. Like, yeah, it gives us a card and puts a Spore in our graveyard, but like Spore, banish Lone Fire, make a 5, and then maybe make Black Rose, and it's like that just gets Dark Hold anyways. So we're not going to want to commit cards to the board here. We're like, what's the most low commitment that we can make to avoid this Dark Hole? To either play around it to the best of our ability. So I think the correct play is to just go ahead and get our breaker and then just ram it and force the pay 5. So we do essentially just do 500 burn and trade a card out of our hand. We're gonna see an Upstart Goblin, draw, and it's gonna be a pretty good draw if I remember correctly. Yeah, checking the grave, it's the Power Well here. It's a pretty good draw, it's Telekinetic Power Well. So again, we know the 2 cards, Pot of Avarice and Dark Hole. So we're gonna max C and get a card here. He's gonna take 1800 from the Power Well. I'm on 3 max C, I feel like it's really good. I believe Formula Monarchs is probably one of the best decks in the format. TG Stun's pretty good, GK's pretty good. We're gonna see the normal summon Destructotron, and then set the MST and pass. So again, we know the 2 cards in hand. So we draw DD Crow, which is actually really good here. So we have a Caius in our hand. So we draw DD Crow, we know he has 2 cards, one of them being Pot of Avarice. So that if the next card is not a monster, he can't commit a monster to the board because we can Crow to stop the Pot of Avarice. So I'm thinking here, if I want to commit a bunch of, again, commit cards to the board, or if I just want a Black Rose, and then I realize that because I have Monster Reborn in my hand, that Black Rose, it would be game if I get him down under 24. So if I can Caius, banish a card, and then attack over the Destructotron, which will do 800 because it's a 1600. That puts me into Reborn Black Rose attack for game range. So as long as he doesn't have a monster, we're able to do that play for game. That's the kind of the damage value here, because again, we didn't use the bulb earlier in the game. So that's kind of what we're debating here. So we will tribute for Caius, and I believe we're gonna banish the Esper Girl, which makes the most sense because of the card Silent Psychic Wizard. Esper Girl is probably the best top deck there. And then we're gonna go Bulb, and we're gonna go Black Rose, again making the Dark Hole useless here. So we know the Avarice is dead because of our DD Crow that we drew off max C, and the Upstart Goblin. So there were no monsters, so we see the Pot of Avarice. We're gonna DD Crow and hit one of the jumpers, I believe. And then no monsters, so we pass, and we do the Reborn for Black Rose attack for gameplay. Going into the sideboard, I'm gonna get rid of Trunade because I didn't see any back row there. I'm gonna get rid of the Breaker, didn't see any back row. I keep in the spaces just in case. You never know what those decks are capable of siding. It's a matchup I'm pretty unfamiliar with. I am gonna side in a second Crow, I believe, because you can stop Witch, because Witch activates a second time. So we're gonna get rid of the Crow, or add a Crow, get rid of the Trunade. And then the other 2 cards, we're gonna, because of all the settings, so we're going second. So I decided to go with Knock going second. And then I decided, okay, when I'm going first, I'm gonna go ahead and go put in Debunk. So that way I can debunk those cards instead. So we're gonna start with the set. And then we're gonna go with Tengu. Unfortunately, we did open double. So we opened Dr. Cranium, which is a searcher. I pay 800 to search, which allows him to get the best card of the deck, Mind Master, which is essentially substitute for level 4 lower psychics, but you have to pay 800 life, and I believe you have to tribute a psychic. You can't just tribute anything. So, and we're gonna set 1, which I believe is Mirror Force, if I remember correctly. I'm gonna go with the Brain Research Lab, which allows you to additional normal summon. Gonna get the Cleric. So Cleric is typically a 1 of in most decks. So he's gonna use the effect Esper Girl, banish Esper Girl so that Esper Girl gets summoned when it leaves the field. So this combo is essentially, yeah, so we're gonna DD Crow the Esper Girl so it's not linked anymore. and he's just gonna pay 8 to tribute off the cleric and get another cleric, which kind of shocked me again. I think cleric is usually typically a one of in most decks. He's gonna banish the cleric, discard, and then tribute it again for Mind Master, which is gonna get him cleric back. And then you could use cleric again, discard cleric, banish cleric, use Brain Research Lab for the jumper. Brain Research Lab will take you damage if it's destroyed, so I'm thinking, how quickly can I get to Ancient Fairy Dragon? And he's gonna go ahead and make Brionic with Tengu and Jumper. I'm gonna get the second Tengu, put it in defense. Now, there is no defense for my decision making here. This is the ending board, and I should absolutely just Mirror Force it, and I don't. I let him attack over it and attack over because my master is 100. And then the cleric triggers to get another cleric, and then we have Pot of Avarice for all 5. So the hand refills itself, and this is kind of how the combo goes. I should absolutely 100% Mirror Force that board. It was incorrect to not do so. And because he gets the cleric, because the cleric left the field, which is tied to another cleric, you can put the cleric back and continue the combo to create a board here. Which gets you Jumper, which gets you cleric, which gets you access to Naturia Beast. Let me say 7. There's gonna be Life Transfer, which lets you banish to gain 1200. So you banish the Overdrive Teleporter, gain 1200 life to keep your life up, because again, you pay a life for pretty much every combo in the deck. Our hand, I believe, is MST, Call of the Haunted, maybe the third Tengu for sure, and I believe maybe Gores. So I'm just gonna set the Tengu and set the Call from what I recall here. And another copy of Pot of Avarice, which is gonna be pretty good to continue to do the hand fodder, so you have more fuel for cleric. And redrawing the Mind Master is pretty good. So you can tribute and continue doing things here. So pay 8, tribute the Life Transfer, and to continue to get more things. Which this also puts a Psychic Synchro monster in his graveyard for Miracle Synchro Fusion. So he's gonna pitch and continue to do things. Psychic Snail, which is tied to the Life Transfer for the Cleric, which when it leaves the field, the Life Transfer back, and you get to make an 8. Which is going to be a Scrap Dragon. And then you can activate Miracle Synchro Fusion, which gets you Ultimate Axon Kicker, which can't be destroyed by card effects, which allows Scrap Dragon to target it for free. So yeah, I believe we have Call and Mirror Force set. He's going to target, hit the Mirror Force, and then we're going to go and scoop it up because Psychic Snail, that 800 was him allowing him to attack twice. You pay 8, target another Psychic monster, it can attack twice, and pretty good. So again, we're going to talk about going back into those debunks over the WhoNeedsMeta crossouts. So the debunks are going in, and the knocks are going to come out. So we're gonna go first this game. We're gonna be able to open up with a Thunder King. I believe we opened up with both of them. We're gonna see a set. We're just gonna poke with it. It's gonna be a Witch. And then we're gonna set a monster, which is gonna be a Raikou. Draw a Witch is gonna trigger to get Esper Girl, which is gonna banish the top card. Then when it leaves the field, you get to add that card. You see the Cleric play here. Cleric's going to discard Upstart Goblin to target Witch, and we're going to go ahead and Valor that so we don't have to deal with the floating witches here. And he's going to Emergency Teleport. Again, the card is at 1. We're going to see the Mind Master play. Mind Master is going to tribute Cleric, and I'm thinking on response here. He's going to pay 8 to do so. So this is an Edison era pickup or whatever. I'm going to go ahead and try and chain book here to this Mind Master because the Ignition Priority is going to get the first one, but Book of Moon is going to stop the Mind Master from doing more shenanigans later and keeping the tributes going. So we're just checking the stats there. It's all 102. I can't remember if it was 100, 0, 102. So our right, it is 102, so our Raikou can't attack over it. So we're going to see the Jumper, and then we're going to lose our Thunder King to Esper Girl, for an Esper Girl. And we're going to see a Sync 6 here for Brionac. Now you could argue using the Brio to stop my set monster, but he's opting to not do so. I believe doing so might have been more correct. Again, gaining tempo with Brio is so big that being able to stop a set monster, obviously not knowing it's Raikou, the card is very, very uncommon in the format. I only played one of in the deck. This is some typical generic removal, so we are going to use it to pop. We're going to mill Tengu, Judgment, TT, which isn't very good, but again, we have another Thunder King. Thunder King is going to go with the Mind Master because Raikou cannot, and then we'll poke for 2. You can see an Upstart Goblin, gain 1,000 there. And then we're going to see Witch. Witch is going to go over the Raikou for 12, put us back down under AK, and then another set. So we have the debunk here for the Witch, because if you don't know, Witch activates both times, and it must remain in the graveyard, which is why Crow's pretty good against it. He's going to decide what to get off of this Witch. And Commander again, 500 life points trades with the Thunder King. So we're going to lose our Thunder King for pretty much free there. So we're going to go ahead and debunk the Witch and banish it. Taking a card out for Avarice and things like Wizard. But the Power Well is going to come out. Then we're going to again max see it. He's going to take 1,500. He's going to pay for Jumper, which is going to get him my Thunder King. He's going to go ahead and make Magical Android. Psychic Snail is going to buff it to attack twice. He's going to attack over the Esper Girl. I'm quickly doing damage calculations because I have Gores. And I'm thinking, do I want to drop the Gores and keep my life up for the Dark Hole that I have in my hand that we opened? Or do you want to kind of hang tight? So he's going to hit for 19, and then we're just going to go ahead because he would hit for 24 after. And like, do we want the big Gores, or are we just going to Dark Hole it? Do we need to do anything there? And then he's going to gain 1,800 life points because of Magical Android is 600 for every Psychic. And he's got 3 Psychics, so 1,800 life points to get the life points back up. So I believe I have Debris Dragon in my hand here, and I'm contemplating, do I again use the Dark Hole, or do I try and go Debris Dragon into the Veiler, into Scrap Dragon, into effect target the Debris Dragon, pop like the Android, and then attack the Jumper or something like that, or vice versa, just to get rid of both of those cards to clear them? Or is it just safest just use the power card? And the thing that sold me on going and using the power card here is because he only has 1 card in hand. So the comeback mechanic is likely pretty low. So I figured, okay, if I Dark Hole this board, only having 1 card in hand, those 2 set cards are not monsters. So we don't have to worry extensively about having like a huge like momentum swing the other way. Again, we do have to worry about Power Well. It ends up just being safest to go ahead and use the Dark Hole here. We're going to normal summon Debris Dragon. Again, the 1 card Bing Maxi does kind of stink because what we're going to try and do here is Reborn the Gores and attack for game. And we could still do this, but with 2 back rows, pretty threatening. Again, we haven't seen any trap cards though. Like, how valuable are those cards? Because this right here is 15, and then Gores, that's 42 if we do decide to do it. So we debate it pretty heavily. In the end, we decided it's not worth the potential risk of giving an extra card, having 3 in hand, plus whatever the remaining set card may be. So yeah, we're just checking Power Well here. It's like, is it worth it to get him under the life points to make Power Well really good? Because again, if we Monster Reborn and the set card is Power Well, he's just going to get a bunch of guys back anyways to prevent us from game, and then we've given an extra card. So we decided to go attack for 15. And one of them is Miracle Synchro Fusion. The reason you set that card is it does pop. When it pops, you draw a card. So we're going to DD Crow the only Synchro monster there, so that it's not live, but the Power Well does come out. So Power Well does target, but if you remove one of the monsters, the other ones still come out, and you obviously only take the damage for ones that do. I believe that's how Soul Charge works as well. So he's going to take 15, contemplating whether the jumper is worth it. Being at 1,000 means you can't use jumper's effect. We're going to see the Cleric. Discard Darkhold, banish Esper Girl. Now the issue being here is he doesn't have another 5 Psychic type monster. So he's gonna go for a 4 here. And then Esper Girl is gonna trigger and get a card. Again, he's gonna try and go for a 6, but there is no Psychic Nightmare requires a non-tuner Psychic rather than a tuner Psychic. So he goes over. And he's thinking, do I have to equip here to not lose the game, or do I attack? And he says, I don't think you can do damage over it. You have to have a 2,000 attack monster. And so I contemplate here, what do I want to do? Do I want to use, again, my power card, my Reborn, to try and play around it? But again, I do decide to just go for it. It's worth it, and then attack the Gores, and the Gores is enough for game here. So not having that additional Psychic monster for the other Miracle Synchro Fusion ended up costing the game there. So again, all of these decks are still in test. This is a very, very, very unexplored format, but let me know what you guys think, and thanks for watching, guys.